ICCA has fundamental pillars, about 6 pillars. Two of the pillars are legacy and impact, because we as the largest global meetings industry association, operating in about 106 countries, for us fundamentally it's important creating that knowledge and ensuring there is an investment component by the membership, by the stakeholders of the meetings industry, put that component in their balance sheet. So if I have to create a legacy project or if I have to create an impactful project, how much I need to spend.
A lot of big countries are looking at this region because it has so much resources. It seems that your work has a lot to do with lobbying.
If I may say, the concerns there, the private sector not talking to public. That's what's happening with all our stakeholders. So ICCA is bridging that gap. So it's me, my entire management team across the world. We create the advocacy role strongly around the world. That's one of the reasons when I presented, we created the Advocacy Alliance. For me, I always say keep your authenticity. And I think Sabah, the convention center, very professional. I've been experiencing the service for the last 1.5 days or so. They've been really professional, very organized, very meticulous in what they do.
So welcome back on the show. This is Julien Drolon, your host on Legacy Business Podcast. Today I have a great pleasure to meet and talk with Mr. Senthil Gopinath, the CEO of ICCA, International Congress and Convention Association. How are you today?
Very well, Julien. Thank you for having me.
So you've been traveling all the way from Netherlands for this very special event. It's the second edition. What are the things that you can mention to our viewers in terms of the leverage that Sabah is getting from this type of events?
Right. I think most importantly, it's more than the event, it's showcasing the destination. I advocate across the world talking about these kind of activations are so important because primarily it gives you an opportunity of showcasing the local infrastructure, but more importantly, bringing the community together, building knowledge. So congratulations for Sabah for taking this ambitious project forward. And of course, bringing the global leadership here to talk about best practices, sharing data, and that becomes a great learning platform for the local stakeholders. What it will achieve by doing this, it will grow the business of Sabah, particularly the business events, and it will also put Sabah in the global business events map.
Great. So talking about best practice, you mentioned you were the first speaker yesterday morning to take the stage. You mentioned about ROI and ROEx. Can you elaborate a bit on that and what you're looking at when it comes to organizing an event in terms of impact?
Right. I think like any business, we always look for ROI, but our industry has transformed in the decade or so, particularly in the last 2 years, more looking at the investment is worth for experiential, whether it's from an experiential learning point of view and from an event experience point of view. Anything what we organize needs to have that kind of impact for the organizer and of course for the audience as well. That's very important. So we organize meetings across all types of industries. When I say we, the members of our community, from healthcare, medical science, you name it, from financial sector. So every event needs to have a kind of experience focus, and the learning needs to be more experiential. And most importantly, creating local impacts so that we leave a legacy and impact in that country or in that city where the conference or the meeting is being held. So it's vital that before, when the structure of the event is being planned, that kind of a thought process. So in the industry, the legacy and impact strategy is becoming more common now. If you take about 3 or 5 years back, it was more organized event, done, everybody's happy, then you leave the destination. But now every organizer is looking at what kind of an impact and a legacy do they leave in that particular sector. So it doesn't matter which sector the conference is being organized or the meeting is being organized. But clearly, every RFP looks for now destinations or the convention bureaus to talk about what kind of a legacy project or impact they can create.
Right before our interview, I was talking to one of your compatriots from Netherlands, and he was saying, we're not yet mature in this industry in terms of social media. And we also noticed that, when you talk about legacy and impact, a lot of event organizers neglect to build this part before, during, and after the event. What are the things that you're doing at ICCA to enhance and encourage your partners, your members to be a bit more aggressive on social media and leverage on all the possibilities that they can have with the speakers and of course strategic sponsors and partners?
Before I answer that, Julien, if I may slightly add on to that particular point, it's not that it's not part of the RFP, it's nobody wants to do it. It's purely the knowledge there's a big gap in the knowledge, and also to get the support. So when the event organizers want to do a legacy or impact strategy in a destination, many destinations are still not ready for it. So they need to drive it. The destination needs to drive it. Then it's easy for the event organizers to put that part of the RFP. Going back to your question, ICCA, from a legacy and impact point, ICCA has fundamental pillars, about 6 pillars. 2 of the pillars are legacy and impact, because we as the largest global meetings industry association, operating in about 106 countries, for us fundamentally it's important creating that knowledge and ensuring there is an investment component by the membership, by the stakeholders of the meetings industry, put that component in their balance sheet. So if I have to create a legacy project or if I have to create an impactful project, how much I need to spend? Because if you don't look at the investment, if the investment doesn't exist in the balance sheet, you're not going to support any stakeholder coming into the country. So it's very important that they're educated and they've been told this part needs to be part of your budget. So that's what we are doing across the world, creating that knowledge in the last 3 to 4 years, predominantly explaining what is legacy projects are, what is impact strategies are, how much you need to allocate. It's not a big amount of money, but depending on what kind of a legacy or the impact project strategy they want to have. And that's helping a lot, because I can tell you from Europe, North America, and to some extent in Middle East, we have managed to really bring that awareness among convention bureaus, convention centers like this. So then that gets into the RRP. And we also have the association community part of ICCA. So across the world, we conduct these impact masterclasses constantly to the associations to understand, think about what is this impact strategies all about. So last year we did it very close to Sabah in Sarawak, bringing the local associations together. And those are the associations which has organized international congresses. But we educated them after the Congress, the post-Congress, what kind of impact it leaves. So now they understand better their contribution. So now they started spreading that word among the few other associations who are bidding for conference. And also they're working closely with the local ministries of tourism and the convention bureaus to focus on this strategy. So for ICCA, it's 2 key pillars across the world in what we do, because that will elevate our industry. It will also showcase to the policymakers who we are, because we leave lasting impacts when I say we, our members,
Right. Yesterday, you made an announcement about the value of the market value of the business event industry. It was in 2021 $736 billion, and you're expecting that to grow to 2.5 trillion by 2035. But you were saying that actually the number is actually much bigger than what it seems. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, and what are you doing to reach that target into 2035?
I think that the data collection part, like I mentioned, it's from the primary organizers. That's a figure. We're looking at 2.5 trillion by 2028. But below the line, we also have the spending within the hotel segment, within the local spending in the local economy when a conference delegate comes in. So what we are looking at through a business intelligence project, which will be announced very soon, we're trying to do that data collection at the secondary, primary and the secondary level as well, so that we can really look at what is this 2.5 trillion or is it above that. So the plan is in about 12 to 18 months coming forward to see what that figure. And also we are collaboratively working on with the Events Industry Council, with various stakeholders in the industry. We're also looking at the local government, Minister of Finance, Statistical Department. So this project have been already, the pilot has been going on in 3 regions. Now we want to sort of go into other regions as well, so that the data collection can become very comprehensive. Probably will reach at least about 80%. That's a plan.
Talking about public-private partnership, one of your counterparts, the head of the organization of events in Indonesia, was telling me yesterday that they were not involved so much the public sector, and there's a big need of doing that. How ICCA is facilitating in some region and some countries to work together with the public and private partnership to reach more stakeholders?
I think one of the biggest, if I may say, the concerns there, the private sector not talking to public. That's what's happening with all our stakeholders. So ICCA is bridging that gap. So it's me, my entire management team across the world. We create the advocacy role strongly around the world. That's one of the reasons even I presented, we created the Advocacy Alliance, bringing policymakers to the alliance. Plus, through all my interactions around the world and my team's interaction, we ensure the policymakers are part of all what we do as ICCA. Why? Because then they understand who we are and what is the private sector contribution in their own countries, like what we do in Sabah in the last 2 days. So then they'll start engaging with the private sector. Because let's be honest that if the policymakers don't understand what the private sector is doing, the partnership is never going to start or it never gets initiated. So you need to create that awareness. Like any other industry, we need to constantly have that dialogue. So ICCA is bridging that gap. I can tell you in the last 1 month across 6 continents, I'm in my 6th continent at the moment, That's exactly I've been doing. First meeting is the policymakers, telling them who we are and getting them to activations like the Sabah Business Event 2025 so that they come and see. I mean, here it's a different scenario. I clearly see there's a greater collaboration between public and private sector in Sabah. But many countries, it's not the case.
Yes.
So that's what ICCA has been doing across the world.
Now you've been visiting world-class events, world-class facilities. The Sabah International Convention Center is the latest big convention center in Malaysia. How would you rate this building and the facilities that you have seen so far?
I think, like you rightly said, the word world-class varies from country to country, region to region. For me, I always say keep your authenticity. And I think Sabah, the convention center, very professional. I've been experiencing the service for the last 1.5 days or so. They've been really professional, very organized, very meticulous in what they do. It's more important not having the infrastructure more in a very high standard. It's keeping the service standard relevant to the local community. Because all of our customers who are coming from many parts of the world to all these convention centers, every center is unique, but every center is common as well because it's another convention center in another city. As long as you keep the service, which is very authentic and to the local culture based, that way it's a win situation for the venue. So that way I must say that I'm greatly experienced the food, the staffing, the infrastructure here. It's very authentic.
The warm welcome of the people as well.
Absolutely, the hospitality, that's very well. Because that brings the customer closer to your destination than the infrastructures like this. Because this can be in any part of the world.
Yes. Now, something that really caught my attention is your expansion in South America. We just talked about it off record.
Right.
You have currently an office in Uruguay. You were mentioning 2 more countries.
That's right.
What are the events that are happening right now in South America, specific sectors that you think are very bullish and you would want to enhance with your organization?
Because our approach, South America, is very different. It's a very decentralized approach. Because after the COVID situation, South America has bounced back in business events immensely. Each country has taken its strategy to globalize. So from a budget perspective, from knowledge development, building the knowledge economy, they're constantly investing. So we, in fact, even next week, we are in Brazil and then we are heading to Mexico, then to Argentina. That's one segment on the south. In the north with Panama, last year we set up the Panama Association Center. Even we opened the ICCA office there, primarily to support that part of the northern part. With Colombia, we launched the day before yesterday a community engagement program. That means all the convention bureaus, because they have different cities, so each city has its own bureau, bringing all of them together and doing a capacity build program and how to bid, how do they work, build their knowledge. So that's another project. So South America as a continent on its own, we keep seeing that the growth, it's more focused inward with each convention bureau, convention centers. Again, there is a quite strong public-private sector working there. So that's really helping ICCA to really look at within the 17 countries, 17 different types of focus. And events, of course, we have our regional summit coming very soon, again in Brazil. That again will bring the entire community, South African community together to talk about various future plans. So yeah, the region is booming.
But in terms of sector, like, of course, like we're thinking mining in Brazil is big, oil and gas. Food also, like I did a report in Peru. They have one of the best food in the world. What are the things that you would like to address to our viewers in terms of investment opportunities in that particular region that you can see?
Yeah,
because you're regularly going there.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at the fintech industry is really high moving forward. Technology is really focused in Latin America. We see that in the last 6 to 8 months, technology is becoming one of the key drivers. And there are a lot of investment going into there. But like you said, the other traditional industries are growing. So what we're trying to do is we are aligning with the chambers of commerce in many countries, particularly in Colombia, Panama, and even in southern part in Brazil and Argentina, to bring the business community to talk to our business events community. So that's really working well, because when I was even in Cartagena in November, a couple of months back, again with UN Tourism, that's what we did. We brought the chambers and all the ministers around the world to talk to the local chambers to identify the investment opportunity. And through that, we want to develop the business events community there. So now there is a good connection between business events community and the actual business community in each country. So that's working well as well. And yeah, from an investment perspective, I think there is enormous potential. Most importantly, all these countries are looking at future opportunities from outside the world. That's what I see more and more, outside the region rather, So that creates a lot of opportunity for investment.
I remember back in the days, China was already very aggressive in South America, and a lot of big countries are looking at this region because it has so much resources. It seems that your work has a lot to do with lobbying, like
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
bridging the gap, full-time lobbyist. You've been at this position as a CEO for 5 years. What legacy do you want to leave behind at your current position and for your industry?
Yeah, I always say that it's more than ICCA. I look at industry as a whole in my role. Very important, if you ask me about a legacy, is that talk the language of the policymakers and make them understand, because it's a constant job. Like I mentioned, it's an ongoing role, building the advocacy role or lobbying, because who we are, we need to justify every day. What we are, we need to justify every day. It's not anything wrong on the policymaker side. That's the dynamics we work as an industry. So for me, my legacy is we don't come to another situation, a crisis situation, and go back to the drawing board again. When I say crisis like COVID, to who we are. I want business events industry to stay there. And most importantly, the local governments to understand the impact we create as a business events. And I know it's a long road. It's not something we are going to achieve in a short term. It's a long-term approach by all of us. It's a collective effort. So if I can leave a legacy of that awareness created, I'll be the most happiest person. But again, I know it's not a finishing line because you have a lot more to do. But at least the awareness.
Talking about not going back, that would be my last question to the drawing board. I mentioned to you yesterday, like during the time of COVID, of course, online events blossomed. How sophisticated has become the market for online events, and do you see a very strong future in it? Last year, I interviewed the CEO of ICCA, and he was saying at the end of the day, people are craving for face-to-face type of event, but there is that technology that is now available. And what can you say to our viewers about how they can leverage in organizing an hybrid, type of conference on site and online also?
Right. I'm a great advocate of in-person event. Online is something complement. I always say it's not a competitor. It's a complement. We need to use it. Yes, definitely. If you want to grow the horizon, you want to grow the market segment, online is a great tool so that the hybrid event, like you mentioned, brings us new audience, which we never will reach through in-person. So at least they'll get them to join us at an entry level, understand who we are, the business events or sectoral conference, whatever conference we organize. So it's a great benefit for the organizer to attract that audience, and then eventually they become an in-person audience. But the fundamental problem what we face is the cost factor. I'm talking on behalf of the associations which organize larger meetings. These tools or these online models what we have at the moment in this I mean, not only in the region, across the globe, if I speak, has become hugely expensive. So the adaptation of these technologies is becoming lesser and lesser. But during COVID time, economically it became very beneficial because there were so many players in the market. Yeah. But now with limited numbers, it's becoming a struggle to engage them. So I see more of these used in North America. Rest of the world, it's really at a very low segment. Again, because the organizers cannot afford that, having that hybrid component. Still, yes, larger medical congresses still continue because they want to get their scientific methodology talking about to the scientific community in other parts of the who can't afford to travel. But the third part of it, angle of it, looking at sustainability initiative, travel becoming a big question worldwide. Yes. I think online is always an option for people to learn, grow, and understand in their own industries.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gopinath, for being with us today, and we wish you a fantastic end of the year and a lot of growth for your organization.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
All the best. Thank you.